The Argo sliced through the blue waters, its oars rising and falling in perfect rhythm, the hull creaking with every surge. The salty wind filled the sails, carrying the scent of distant lands and the promise of adventure. Each wave that broke against the prow seemed to whisper of the unknown, urging the crew onward. On board, Jason and the Argonauts, Greece's greatest heroes, pressed forward, their faces set with determination. These were men of legend: Heracles, Orpheus, Castor and Pollux, each with their own story, united by a single purpose. Together they braved the endless blue, bound for a destiny none could foresee. Their quest for the Golden Fleece was more than a hunt for treasure. It was a test of courage, loyalty, and fate itself. Every sunrise brought new hope, but also new dangers. The sea was both a path and a trial, and every man aboard knew that glory was never won without risk. Days at sea had left them weary, muscles aching from endless rowing, eyes stinging from salt and sun. Yet as the horizon brightened and a sliver of green appeared, hope flickered in their hearts. Land, at last, the promise of solid ground and respite from the relentless ocean. Lush and green, the island of Cyzique rose from the sea like a vision. Its forests shimmered in the Mediterranean sunlight, and the coastline beckoned with the allure of safety and rest. For the Argonauts, it seemed a gift from the gods. The Argonauts guided their ship into a tranquil harbour, hearts lifted by the sight of peaceful shores. The water here was calm, a welcome change from the churning sea, and the cries of distant birds promised a land teeming with life. They secured the Argo, grateful for a break from the relentless sea. Some men stretched out on the rocks, others knelt in silent thanks, all savouring the rare moment of peace. The journey had tested them, but here, for a moment, they could breathe. The island, shaped like a bear, intrigued them. A curious omen, perhaps, or simply a quirk of nature. Its unique form was a detail that caught the eye, but soon far greater events would demand their attention, for now they were strangers in a strange land, stepping cautiously but with optimism. The air was thick with the scent of pine and earth, and every step brought new sights and sounds. The Argonauts felt the thrill of discovery, their spirits buoyed by the hope of welcome and rest. Yet beneath the surface, unease lingered. The sky darkened with gathering clouds, and a hush fell over the crew. They did not know this stop would soon turn from hope to heartbreak, that the island's peace was only an illusion. Here friendship would be forged and then shattered, a cruel twist of fate awaiting in the shadows. Bonds would be tested, and choices made in moments of confusion would echo for a lifetime. The Argonauts stepped onto Cyzique, unaware that tragedy was already stirring. Their hearts were light, their minds filled with dreams of feasts and stories by the fire, but destiny had other plans. Their journey's next chapter was about to begin, and with it, the first true test of their unity and resolve. The Argonauts, weary from their long and perilous journey across the sea, were welcomed with open arms by the Doliones, a people known for their warmth and hospitality. At the heart of this generous welcome stood the young king Cyzicus, a ruler admired for his kindness and wisdom despite his youth. Cyzicus greeted Jason, leader of the Argonauts, with genuine warmth, extending not just his hand but his trust and friendship to these legendary travelers. That evening, a grand feast was prepared in their honor. The palace tables overflowed with roasted meats, fresh bread, sweet fruits, and the finest wine the land could offer. Laughter echoed through the great hall as stories of distant lands and heroic deeds were exchanged. Jason and Cyzicus, both young men carrying the weight of leadership, found common ground and mutual respect. The king spoke with pride of his peaceful kingdom, a land untouched by war, and of the harmony he worked so hard to maintain among his people. He also shared his joy at his recent marriage to his beloved bride, Clyte, whose presence brought light and happiness to his life and to the palace. The Argonauts, grateful for such kindness after so many hardships, found comfort and a sense of belonging among the Doliones, forging bonds that felt like family. For several days the heroes rested and celebrated. Their ship was carefully repaired by skilled hands, and their stores replenished with the best provisions the Doliones could provide. In this brief time, the Argonauts and the Doliones became as close as brothers, united by shared meals, laughter, and the spirit of goodwill. It seemed as if the gods themselves had granted them a rare moment of peace and happiness, a welcome pause in their dangerous quest. Yet beneath the surface, fate was quietly weaving a different story. No one suspected how quickly joy could turn to sorrow, or how fragile such happiness could be. The memory of this friendship so quickly forged would soon be overshadowed by tragedy, leaving a lasting mark on all who were present. For in the world of heroes and gods, fate, as always, had other plans waiting just beyond the horizon. But danger lurked on Bear Mountain, where the savage Gegenes, six-armed giants, watched the newcomers. The Doliones lived in fear of these earth-born monsters who saw the Argo as a threat. As the Argonauts prepared to depart, the Gegenes plotted. From the cliffs they gathered massive boulders, intent on trapping the ship. With a thunderous roar, the giants hurled rocks toward the harbour, blocking escape. The peaceful morning erupted into chaos as the attack began. The Doliones fled in terror, the Argonauts scrambled to defend themselves. The giants' assault threatened to destroy the Argo and all aboard. The heroes faced a desperate fight for survival. The shadow of Bear Mountain had finally descended. The battle for Cyzique was about to begin. The Argonauts braced for the onslaught. The Argonauts sprang into action as boulders rained down. Heracles, son of Zeus, stood tall, unleashing arrows with deadly precision. Giants fell, struck by his might, inspiring the others to join the fight. The heroes rowed closer to shore, then charged up Bear Mountain. Jason led the assault, sword flashing, as they clashed with the monstrous Gegenes. The battle was brutal, swords and spears against six-armed fury. Heracles was unstoppable, his club and arrows turning the tide. One by one the giants fell. At last the Argonauts stood victorious. The threat was ended. The Doliones cheered, their gratitude boundless. The heroes had saved Cyzique from terror, but fate's shadow lingered, unseen. With the giants defeated, the Argonauts were celebrated as saviors. After heartfelt farewells, they set sail, spirits high and the sea calm. But the gods had other plans. Dark clouds gathered, the wind turned fierce. A violent storm struck, tossing the Argo in blinding chaos. The heroes fought to keep the ship afloat, losing all sense of direction. Hours passed in a desperate struggle against the raging sea. At last, the Argo ran aground on an unfamiliar shore. Exhausted, the crew believed they'd reached a new land. In truth, the storm had driven them in a circle. They had returned to Cyzique, but in the darkness, they did not know it. The stage was set for a tragic mistake. Fate's cruel hand was at work. In the storm's aftermath, the Argonauts landed on the dark shore, wary and tense. Armed figures approached, Doliones mistaking the newcomers for invaders. Neither side recognized the other in the blackness. Fear and confusion ruled. Words were lost to the wind. Battle erupted on the beach, friend against friend, each believing the other an enemy. Jason, in the chaos, faced a shadowy leader and struck him down. The Argonauts fought with skill, the Doliones with desperate courage. Only when dawn broke would the truth be revealed. The night's violence was senseless, born of darkness and fear. A tragedy had unfolded unseen. Dawn revealed the horror. Argonauts and Doliones stared at each other in shock. The beach was strewn with the bodies of friends, victims of a cruel mistake. Jason discovered the fallen leader he had slain, King Cyzicus. Grief and guilt overwhelmed the heroes. The Doliones mourned their beloved king. The Argonauts had saved Cyzique, only to bring it greater sorrow. For 3 days both sides mourned together, holding a grand funeral for Cyzicus. The heroes cut their hair in grief, honoring the king with solemn games. No ceremony could erase the pain. The joy of Cyzique was gone, replaced by silence and regret. The Argonauts' journey was forever marked by this tragedy. Fate had turned celebration into mourning. News of Cyzicus' death shattered Queen Cleite. Her world, once bright with love, was plunged into despair. Unable to bear the loss, Cleet fled to the woods where she and Cyzicus had walked. Overcome by grief, she took her own life. The island mourned anew, 2 innocent lives lost in a single day. Cleet's love and sorrow became legend, a testament to the power of loss. The Argonauts, stricken with guilt, realized the depth of the tragedy they had caused. Their accidental crime had destroyed a happy home. The deaths of the king and queen haunted them, a lesson in the consequences of fate. The memory of Cleet's grief would never fade. The gods, moved by the tragedy that befell Cyzique, looked down with sorrow. The forest nymphs, guardians of the ancient woods, wept for Cleet, their tears shimmering like morning dew upon the leaves. Their grief echoed through the trees, a lament that seemed to blend with the wind and the rustling branches. Where Cleet's life ended, the nymphs' magical tears gathered, pooling gently on the forest floor. From this sacred place a stream was born, its waters clear and pure, flowing as a tribute to her memory. The stream sparkled in the dappled sunlight, as if each drop carried a piece of her sorrow and her love. This stream, named Cleet, soon became a place of reverence. It was more than water. It was a living symbol of love lost and the pain of fate. People believed the stream held the power to heal broken hearts and to remind all who visited of the cost of grief. The people of Cyzique would gather at its banks, laying flowers and whispering prayers. They came to remember their lost queen and king, to share stories, and to find comfort in the gentle sound of flowing water. The stream became a place where sorrow could be shared and softened. Over time, the story of Cleet's sorrow was woven into the very heart of the island. Elders told it to children by the riverside, and each generation carried the memory forward, ensuring that her legacy would never fade from the land or from their hearts. When the Argonauts finally departed Cyzique, their hearts were heavy. The sorrow they carried was deeper than any wound inflicted by monsters or storms. They left behind not just a city, but a story that would haunt them on their journey. The wind that filled their sails seemed to sigh with mourning, as if the very air grieved with them. Each gust was a reminder of the loss they could not undo. Though they had faced giants and braved countless dangers, the deepest pain was the one they had brought upon themselves. It was a wound that no hero's strength could heal. Around campfires and in distant lands, the tale of Cyzicus and Cleet became part of the Argonauts' legend. It was a story told in hushed voices, a lesson in the power of fate and the fragility of joy. Even the greatest heroes are sometimes pawns of destiny, and a single night's mistake can create a river of sorrow that endures for generations. Yet the stream of Cleet flowed on, gentle and eternal, a living memory, whispering her name to all who paused to listen.